Phasers on stun.
Hey y'all, Tom, ND3N here, and thanks for dropping by my ham shack for a ham shack chat. This video is a continuation of the introductory video that I released just a couple of days ago. That one was about the ARRL field day, and in this video we'll be continuing by taking a look at operating classes and sections. Now these two items are probably the most important, or rather they are the most important part of the exchange that you'll be giving and receiving. I'll also talk about how to deal with DX contacts from places that aren't in any identified section. Before we get into that, I'd like to share a comment I've received from that previous video from viewer Matt Stosh. As I read, I might misstate, but word for word what he says is going to be scrolling right over there, so you can follow along. He says, many new hams complain about not having mentors or actual radio experience, yet the ARRL field day provides incredible opportunity for new hams to learn the radio language, get on the air, learn valuable field day strategy, use VHF, UHF to make a QSO via satellite, and etc. Field day is simply a blast with fabulous food, camaraderie, and a learning experience unparalleled anywhere. You don't need fancy equipment to operate. I did extremely well on a used $300 Alinco DX70 HF rig and a home-brewed 20 meter and 40 meter dipole, the two wires. Our solar cycle is getting better, and I anticipate 10 meters, which is viable for a technician's license, will be the band to watch. See you on the air in June. And Matt, I'm looking forward to seeing you too. I was very impressed with Matt's comments and invite you to share your thoughts in the comments.
Yes, you. Questions, comments?
Section below. While you're at it, please give me a like.
Please like me. Please.
By popping that thumbs up icon. The different ARRL sections are your multipliers when figuring out your final score. We'll get more into that in another video. I put links that identify all of the different sections in the video description below. You might think that sections are pretty simple. However, there are a few things you need to be aware of. First, let's take the example and say that you and a group of friends decide that you're going to take a weekend trip, maybe camp out and set up a field day site. Now you might be starting from the Los Angeles or LAX section, but if you travel south, are you aware of the boundaries between Los Angeles and the Orange County section? If you're going north, you know when Santa Barbara starts. I've included a link in the video description which lists each section and the counties that section contains. That can help you and also help the other guy. Now, the same thing could happen if you're in Florida and taking a trip, because Florida contains multiple sections. Also, New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Washington, Texas, and a few other states. Of more concern, say you receive a report from someone who says, hey, I'm in Florida. Well, you need to be able to figure out which section in Florida they're actually transmitting from. Let me just say, remember, you're responsible for your log. So you need to get the right information in there, but we're all working this together. So providing him the proper information, is he in South Florida, North Florida, West Central Florida? Giving him some guidance for future contacts would be great. Now, a couple of things to keep in mind. that sometimes happen, sometimes don't. Washington, D.C. is part of the Maryland, D.C. or MDC section. For the purposes of this event, Alaska and Hawaii each have their own sections and are not considered DX. Hawaii is part of the Pacific section, and its abbreviation is PAC. Puerto Rico and the U.S. Virgin Islands each are their own section. In Canada, Ontario is broken into 4 different sections. This has happened a few years ago, but some people just aren't aware of it. And if this is your first time doing field day, it's something to be aware of. They are Ontario East, which is abbreviated ONE, Ontario North, or ONN, Ontario South, or ONS, and the Greater Toronto Area, or GTA. Now, any station not located in one of the identified sections should identify themselves as DX, and you should log them as such. Our British friends, those across the pond, the ones with the funny accents, they like to involve themselves in our field day. And it should be, because they kind of speak English too. And so they should, in your log, you should enter them as DX, and they should be giving you their location as DX. Operating classes are another critical part of the exchange. Now, you should not only know your operating class, but be able to help someone calling you identify theirs in case they don't know. Operating Class A is what most hams have in their head when they think of field day. This class consists of 3 or more persons in a club or non-club setting up specifically to do field day. These stations must be located in places that are not regular station locations. They must not use facilities installed for permanent station use or use any structure permanently meant for field day. Radios in a Class A station must be operated by other than the commercial grid power. In other words, you can't just plug it into the wall. This station will operate under a single call sign of the licensee or trustee, who will be responsible for the group operations. That guy's going to be the control operator. The exception to this single call sign requirement is a get on the air or GOTA station set up for non-hams to make field day contacts under supervision of a licensed ham. That gets its own call sign. However, points go back. This station will use the same exchange as the parent station and will be limited to 100 watts power output. That's unless the parent station is running QRP, then it will be limited to the same 5 watt limitation as the parent station. All Class A stations may have a free VHF-UHF station, but keep in mind the use of repeaters for field day contacts is not allowed. And this includes not only FM repeaters, but digital voice repeaters as well. In short, any VHF-UHF contacts must be made using simplex mode. A subclass is Class A battery that must be operated QRP, and the power source must be something other than commercial mains or motor-driven generators. Batteries may not be recharged by commercial mains or motor-driven generators, but you can use other stuff like solar power. Put some of your kids on a bicycle and generate that way. Class B operations consist of 1 or 2 person portable, and with the exception of the number of people involved, has identical requirements as the Class A operation, except Class B operations may not have a get on the air station or a free VHF UHF station. Class B battery has the same requirements as Class A battery, including the operation at QRP levels. Class C is the mobile class, which includes stations in vehicles capable of normally operating while in motion, and they are normally operated in this manner. Aside from cars and trucks, this also includes boats, planes, motorcycles, and all variations on those themes. One note, if the Class C station is being powered from the vehicle battery, it will qualify as an emergency power system. However, it will not get the bonus multipliers as the vehicle power system constitutes a motor-driven generating system. The alternator, right? Class D are home stations. They're operated from permanent or licensed station location using commercial power. In the past, Class D stations were not allowed to work other Class D stations. However, because of COVID changes to the rules in the last few years, Class D stations have been allowed to count contacts with any other station for QSO credit. And as of this year, that rule has become permanent. You can contact anybody. You're not limited to just non-Class D people. Class E are the same as Class D home stations, but using emergency power for station power. Class E may also work all field day stations. Finally, you might recall from the first video in this series that I mentioned I would be operating Class F. That's because I'll be operating from my county's Emergency Operations Center, or EOC. To operate Class F, an amateur radio station must operate from an established EOC activated by a club or non-club group with permission of the owners of the EOC. If that's in a fire department or whatever, you have to have their permission. And station may use equipment and antennas temporarily or permanently installed at the EOC. Class F stations are also eligible for a free VHF UHF station as well as a get on the air station. And that completes our review of sections and classes. There's a lot more information about these subjects that are contained on the ARRL Field Day website, and that can be found in the official rules. Links to both can be found down in the video description. Thanks for dropping by my ham shack for a ham shack chat about Field Day. The next video in this series, we will be discussing all the various bonuses,
employee bonuses, renovations to the daycare center,
that you and your club can earn during the Field Day. Please share
Thank you for sharing.
this video with your friends and colleagues who may be interested in Field Day. Also, please consider subscribing
Do you subscribe to this troubadour mystique?
to this channel so that you can find all of my ham-related content in one easy place. If you haven't seen it yet, you may want to watch this video, which was the first video in this series. As always, I'm at your service. 73 until the next Hey Y'all. I'm Tom, ND3N, and I am out. That's... Jeez.